Sparking Change with Gigi, a show that aims to make the world a better place by bringing together authentic minds. This show encourages each of us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get ready to be inspired and join us on this journey to create a brighter future for all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sparking Change with Gigi. Today's special episode on Why Women Rise. We are honored to bring and join us a woman who fully embodies what it means to lead fearlessly, authentically, with purpose. Rhonda Swan. Rhonda is a globally recognized brand expert, best-selling author, and the unstoppable force behind the Unstoppable Branding Agency, one of the top PR and media firms servicing visionary entrepreneurs around the world. Known widely as the Queen of Branding, she has helped thousands of thought leaders craft iconic personal brands and become sought-after voices in their industries. She's a powerhouse host of the Rhonda Swan Show and the Wall Street Minute, filmed at the New York Stock Exchange and featured on major networks including CNBC and USA Today. With more than 2 decades of experience, Rhonda speaks globally on magnetic branding building, thought leadership, and the power of using your voice to create lasting and global impact. She's bold, she's fearless, she knows who she is, and she wants to stand and what she stands for. Today, she's here to share how women everywhere can rise into that same kind of power. So buckle up, because this conversation is going to be real, raw, and deeply inspiring. Welcome, Rhonda, to the show.
Why, thank you. Good to be here.
It's so good to have you. You know, I watch you just go out there, and you're so creative, and you really spark. You just shine. Your smile, you know what you want, and you send such a beautiful message out in the world on how anyone can do this, right? They have to build that confidence. So I want to if you could share a little bit story about you, because I remember we met when you received your Trailblazer Award, and it was a powerful speech that you made regarding how no one believed what you wanted to do, and then you went for it anyway. So, and here you are today, showing the world what's possible.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thank you again. Good to see you, Giovanna. It's really lovely to be here and to share. Yeah, I mean, my story is quite different than most would actually expect. And just a quick snapshot. I actually met my husband surfing in the water 28 years ago, from Michigan. My husband's from Chicago, and we both met in San Diego surfing. And so our life was really started, with a vision to live this amazing life now that we live in California. And so we did quite well in corporate. And then one day I actually witnessed a woman putting a 6-week-old baby in daycare. And I was in a meeting with our morning, Monday morning meetings with my boss. And imagine sitting in a meeting with 50 other people, with your highest level executive. And, here I am being groomed to take over this Western part of this division. And my boss stops this woman. She's about 15 minutes late to the meeting, and yells at her and says, why are you late? This is a meeting. You're supposed to be on time. And this moment was one of these moments in time when, you probably have been there before, where something happens and it shifts the way you think about reality. And that was what happened for me that day. In fact, the woman said, I'm so sorry, but I just dropped my 6-week-old baby off at daycare. And it was a really hard morning. I just got off maternity leave. 6 weeks is not long enough. And sure enough, my boss threw her on the cross for not being on time. Yeah. And so I said, this is not what I want to do for women. This is not what I do for children. This is not the representation I want to be. And at that time, I was only 30 something years old. And so I came home and told my husband, I am quitting my job. And he said, well, I think you're a little crazy, because I don't care if I'm my boss's 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 boss. I'm not going to make enough money to pay for this 6-bedroom home. We live in La Jolla, California. And I said, don't worry, I'm going to figure it out. And I did. I actually started doing a lot of research, and I started looking at different markets. And this is back now. I'm going to bring everyone back to my age, but also maybe age you that is listening. This was in 2003. And this is kind of right when the internet was really starting to kick up and, start. And, I searched work at home mom, something I probably would have never done, especially at 30. But that moment gave me that spark of inspiration to say, okay, I need to do something different. And that's what I did. I started working actually with Perry Marshall, who wrote the algorithm for Google. I learned how to become a digital marketer. This is before ads. This is before social media, dating myself again. But I did hear in a documentary from Steve Jobs, and he said, if you are not understanding digital marketing, the digital markets, the internet, you will be left in the dust in 10 years. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. So it's kind of like how people feel right now, Giovanna, where like Bitcoin came around. It's like, oh, if you don't buy this now, you're going to be, and everyone's like, yeah. Well, this is really what's happening. Same thing. And it was the same thing. The internet, the social media hadn't even really launched yet. YouTube had just kind of peeked his head out. And so that's what I did. I actually retired my husband within a year, started building our branding firm, started helping support others building their own personal brands, build businesses online, structures online. I was one of the first women to build a make $1 million with a sales funnel before it was a cool name, funnel. And that's kind of part of the story. I mean, my story gets obviously a little bit deeper. I could continue on, but we can.
You were determined, right? You had a determination to make it, right? You made a decision. I love this because I study the works of Bob Proctor. I'm sure you heard of the name. Yeah. And, it was like, make a decision. Don't look back. Just move forward and you will get what you need, right? Just keep going in that direction. And I'm sure that's what kind of like you did. You kind of like got yourself focused on what is it exactly that you wanted and how you reinvented yourself. So would love to know like 3 foundational beliefs that every woman should know to help them step into their power. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. So 3 foundational beliefs. Well, I think that women, like, for instance, I'll go back to my story, is that, this could have been a very crippling moment, right? And so, especially as women, we are determined to do what's best for our family. And oftentimes we'll give up what we need, what we personally need for ourselves to make ourselves feel supported. And, it would have been very easy for me, to stay in corporate, 6 figures, wanted to have a family, but I stayed true to what I wanted out of my life and the representation that I wanted for women and for a family. So I asked myself this question, and this is part of this universal truth, is if what I'm doing right now going to get me closer to where I want to be and how I see myself as a woman that is contributing to the world, right? And so that one right there, that universal truth, what is that? Are the steps I'm taking right now getting me closer, right? So that's one. Second, I think is it's not just belief. Belief, I think people say these words and they're thrown around. Oh, believe in yourself. It really is a much deeper than just believing in ourselves. It's actually asking ourselves, why wouldn't I believe that I can make it? And when I quit corporate for building a business to become an entrepreneur, that's the hardest thing to ever imagine doing. We go from having a paycheck, whether it's a good one or not, money's coming on Monday or the first week of the month or the second week. That things are consistent. You might have insurance if you live in the United States. I've been out of the US for 17 years. There's certain things that we get very comfortable with. And so, the one thing that I said to myself, if there's one person I want to rely on to be successful, who is it? And when you have a job, you're not relying on yourself really to be successful. You're usually relying on what people think of you. Right.
That's right.
And so I said, well, if I'm going to rely on one thing, it's me. So believing in yourself isn't just, hey, I believe in myself, let's go. It's, do you truly believe that you are the one that can control your destiny, control your future? Do you believe in that? And I'll ask that right now, and everyone really feel into that because it's confronting. right, Giovanna? It's very
It
confronting.
is.
Ask, are you the one? Do you believe in it? And in the beginning, I was like, yes, of course I do. And then I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can
Right.
continue, right? Quit my job, retired my husband, bills are coming up. I've got to be the one that brings in the sales to make the money. It's not a paycheck anymore. So I think that the second really truly is asking yourself, if there's one person that you can trust in that dictate your future, is it you? Do you believe you can do it? And then I think then the third is just taking radical, almost out of ordinary
Yes.
control action,
Yeah.
just really willing to fail, really willing to fall.
And I can totally resonate with what you're saying, Rhonda, because I came from corporate America. Then I decided I had my son at age 8. He developed epilepsy, and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? And what is this? And then that led me to come home and say, I'm done with my corporate job. I'm going to go be a teacher. And again, what do you think you're doing? Same scenario, same story, right? And I'm like, I don't know, but God is taking me in this path, and this is the path I'm going to follow. He's going to show us the way. We'll be okay. I tripled my salary because then I went into special ed, and then I was doing work with kids with autism, and I was a therapist, blah, blah, blah. Here comes 9/11, the vaccine
COVID.
stuff. Yeah, COVID. And yeah, I have to be careful, COVID. And again, I'm a cancer survivor. My doctor's like, I don't think you really should do this. Give it a second thought. So I said, okay, I'm going to listen to my doctor and my feelings inside. And so New York State said, well, no vaccine, no job. So now I have to reinvent myself again. So I can totally resonate where now I'm left as an entrepreneur, right? And I'm doing what you're doing, very similar to what you're doing. And so, yeah, we're depending on ourselves, because to prove your point, if I did not follow a certain rule, then I don't have that paycheck. So the truth is, who can you depend on? The only person you can depend on is yourself, to take you where you want to be, because even though you have all those credentials and everything else, and you're following the rules of the book, sometimes they're not that great. Those rules, you have to make your own, and I, definitely see that you've done that. So
Yeah,
what do you
life makes a lot of twists and turns as well, right? So when we talk about women rising, we're like, okay, this is my plan. I'm going to do all of this, right? Because that's what I thought. I was like, this is my plan, retiring my husband. I'm going to start our company. And sure enough, I did that. But 3 years later, we invested in a lot of real estate, and we found out we were losing everything. So this plan went like this. And when we found out we were losing everything, I was also 60 days before my daughter was due. So you want to talk about going from, okay, I got this. Yes, of course I'm relying on myself, to, oh my goodness, we just invested everything that we had into a real estate development, and the developer stole all the money from the development. And we found ourselves with a brand new baby with $26 million in debt of homes that never got built, and the banks knocking down our door. So again, we go from, now what do? Do we still believe in ourselves? What is the choices that we can make? And and I share this because you're talking about why women rise. We rise because we are called. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in the universe, whatever your spiritual callings are, we are brought in this world to give life, right? And to be the leaders in this world of those that have that guiding intuition and sense. And sure enough, I'm like, am I really supposed to be doing this now, right? Should I go back? See, this is where women that rise and women that say they're rising is when the going gets tough, right? How are you going to act? Because you are at your best when you are in your worst moment. Say that again. You are actually at your best in your worst moment. It's easy to be good and everything's great when things are moving. How are you when things are tough? Are you going to give up? Right. And that was the decision that we had. Is I looked at my husband, brand new baby, and I said, what are we going to do? Are we going to go back and get jobs? And we both looked at each other and said, there's no way. We made a promise to this brand new baby that we'd never put her in daycare. Yeah, it's a lot different plan than we thought. We thought we'd have tons of money in the bank and didn't have to work anymore. Yes. But so now we literally sold everything that we owned in 2008. And we left with $12,872.62 left to our name, with a vision and a vow to never put my daughter in daycare. And now this November, it'll be 18 years that we left corporate. We started our company. Wow. We lost everything. We started traveling the world. We've been on the road now for literally 18 years. We live in Bali, Indonesia, and we still have our company. We've launched, 2,500 different brands and products, and working with other people. But the main point is that life will continue to shift. Life will get hard. Who are you? Because you asked that question. What are the main three things that women need to know? Yes. It's not that they need to know anything. They need to feel it. They need to believe it. And they need to truly trust in their intuition.
Yeah. And I love that, because when the going gets tough is really when you're put to the test, whether it is what you want. Are you worthy to receive what it is that you want? Let me put it that way, because most of the time, and I will say I had to learn that part of it. I had to learn to say, yes, I can have this. I am worthy to receive this. Like, I never had this show on my resume, right? It was like, go to school, go to get your finance degree. I have a master's in banking, a master's in education. I never thought that I will go down this path where I'm bringing other people out into the world to voice their stories, to help each other heal. And there are dark moments, and I do get tested, but I do know I have to come on this show and do my work that I believe is greater than me. And I believe that if we have that vision, that we're meant to do something greater than us to impact the world, because it's not about you, Rhonda. You know that everything that you do is about uplifting other people. And that's why I say, why women rise. The reason why they rise, and I believe this in my soul, is that we're helping others to rise. It's not about us anymore. It's about bringing other people up with us, because behind every successful person, there's other people that they're bringing up. It's not about them. And when you get to that point, I think that's when the rewards come. Yes, it gets hard, but if you stick to that vision that you're here not only for yourself, but for your family and your friends, and to help them, feel the connection to how powerful they are. And I know Halava, she says, we have gold stored inside us. We don't know that until we take this leap of, I call faith. And that's what you did. You trusted in your gut, you trusted in your intuition, and you're moving ahead full force. And I love the fact that I think you just recently you going to the stock exchange and doing a show there.
Yeah, I'm the host of I used to host a show at NASDAQ, and now I'm the host of the show called The Wall Street Minute in front of the New York Stock Exchange on CNBC, Bloomberg, and Fox Business. And I also host my own show, the Rhonda Swan Show in Wake Up New York, that's on USA Today.
So this vision of your shows, did you see that when you said yes to yourself? When you only had $12,000 to your name, and you're like, okay, it's okay. We're going to keep moving forward.
Yeah, that was right when YouTube first came out, and the Facebook hadn't even come out yet. And I said, okay, if we're going to start this, because this is where the Unstoppable Families brand came from. If we're going to become this unstoppable family, how are we going to do it? And so we started sharing our story. And so I actually started hosting one of the very first shows. I called it the Help Me Rhonda Show. It was about branding. And then it turned into the Freedompreneur Show. And it was just lives. I was going on YouTube, then Facebook comes out, and I was going live every single day for about 6 years. literally
Oh,
every single day. And I said, okay, so if I'm committed to telling our story, to being vulnerable, then I'm going to do this every day, whether someone shows up or not. And in the beginning, no one showed up, and so, but one thing I did learn is my
yeah.
muscle got strong, my speaking muscle got better, my storytelling muscle got easier. I was more
Mhm.
confident in front of the camera. And then I realized that I had a gift. And so I have interviewed probably 2,000 people in the last 17 years and have gone live over 4,000 times. And it literally became something that has changed the way that I do things. And then, of course, I started to look for ways that I can help provide others a platform, right? And owning a PR and branding firm, our company's, been known to be one of the top firms for entrepreneurs and elevating their brand. And in order to do that, I said, oh, I have to keep doing it. So if I'm going to help people, then I have to do it myself, help myself. And then I started to create platforms that gave people the space to tell their story. And so now being on the New York Stock Exchange and on NASDAQ and, these big channels, it was more about how can I help others bring their message to the world in a bigger way. And so I didn't know exactly what it was going to look like. However, now, it's there, and it's, we're launching the very first episode on CNBC, Fox, and Bloomberg on the 30th of June. And it's going to run a linear in New York City. So it's so exciting.
I love it. I love it. So that goes into my next question. Like, what does it mean to you when we say be seen and be heard, right? And why do so many women struggle with allowing themselves to get into that space? Like, what's holding them back, and why is it important to you?
Why is it important to be seen and heard?
Yeah, what does it really mean to you, and why is it important for women to come out and share their stories? What do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for everyone to, wherever their comfort level is, that if they have a mission. So I always ask, what's your mission? And if
Mm,
your mission is to inspire the world and to, show others to be resilient, to rise, to be unstoppable, then if that's your mission, then what are the activities that you'll take to live that mission out? And usually it's being visible. It's sharing your story, because in order for others to do the
yes.
same, they've got to see within you that permission and be inspired to do it as well. And so I think that,
Mm,
many people they're actually, they don't want to be in front of a camera, or they may not
yeah.
want to share their story. However, when it's not about you, then it gets a lot easier to say, oh, okay, in order for me to, hit that mission, or
Yes.
to reach those goals, or to reach those lives, I actually have to do something that allows that to happen. And that usually is getting on a camera, sharing your vision, sharing what you're all about, sharing your story, because that one moment that you don't realize people are watching, like right now, some of you may have just popped on. There could be
Yes.
one thing that I say that I didn't even know that I said it, that can inspire someone to step into their greatness, to feel into themselves, to say, wow, I'm worthy. And my story is so important to me that I want to share it with you, so you can see within yourself how important your story is. And, I think that's really where I always want to encourage women, write a book, whether it's be in a co-authored book, like I'm the founder of Women Gone Wild, this book series behind me, Wealth,
Yes.
Intuition, Leadership, and Diversity is a 4-series book. And we take 25 women's stories. And, that sometimes is the first time they've ever authentically told their story. They've ever felt the permission that it was actually worthy to hear,
Yes.
to share. And you don't know the person behind this screen that could be fully inspired to go, you helped change and shift my life.
Absolutely. And and it takes vulnerability, right? You mentioned the word before, how we have to step out and say it's not about us, and being vulnerable to share the story that myself, and I see it all the time when say to someone, I am a cancer survivor, and I know I can help somebody get through the fear because I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, but then there's the old school saying, that's your secret. Like, that's your personal business. You should not be sharing that, you know? And I'm like, no, you don't get it. The reason why I went through that and I survived it is to share it. So whether it's a cancer journey or whether it's, you know, any other type of illness or diagnosis, it's to share that if I can do it, you can do it too. Right. And it's giving that hope and that inspiration. I love that. Um, I used to work for MasterCard, and MasterCard had Pele as their branding sponsor, right? And I always looked at that and said, they used him to brand their name.
Mm.
In your business, when we say branding, we're actually looking at the individual and their story. And can you elaborate a little bit on that? Like I don't, you know, it's not the same. The old-fashioned advertising way is, you know, getting a person behind the brand. But what you do is you're bringing out the individual to make them the brand, because we are the brand. So I just love to touch a little bit on that, because the work that you do is different. It's very different. And I'd love for you to elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, yeah, I mean, so there's marketing, there's promotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's advertising, and they're all different,
Yes.
right? So if you're a company or you're a company product brand, right, then you have a label, you have a logo, you have an actual
Mm-hmm.
product USP that does something really amazing, right? So you're talking about endorsements where there's
Yes.
celebrity that is endorsing this product.
Yes.
This is a great product, right? So Pele endorsed MasterCard and said, hey, MasterCard's
Right.
the best way, right? So that sparks promotion or excitement. It's an endorsement. It gives people like, oh, that's the one. Now, what I do and what I've done for now 20 some years is,
Mm-hmm.
and this is before, again, this is before social media, this is before literally people were doing things online. And I learned it because I was an executive with GlaxoSmithKline Pharmaceuticals. I was in their sales division. And I was one of the pharmaceutical reps that had to go to the door of a doctor. Now, you've been to doctors before. You go into the doors. What do we got? We got a desk. We got a lot of different, secretaries or administrative people that take your information. And if you're a patient, you sign in, you go in. But if you're selling
Mm-hmm.
something, you have to win the gatekeeper. You have to be and have this presence that allows them to go, oh, you're the one that I would like to walk in to meet my doctor. And so I got really, really good at that. I started building my own personal brand within a company. Rhonda Swan, was like, I would walk in the door and I not only, because they gave us all kinds of things to give away. I had pens to give away. I had all kinds of stuff to give away.
Yeah.
However, the one thing I did do is if it was the Kentucky Derby, guess what? I was dressed up like a horse.
I love it.
If it was the golf tournament, the Masters, I had a golf hat on and a golf club. If it was, I literally became a brand that they were so excited to see me. And so when I left that company, I literally, all the doctors, I did so well. They were like, how are you doing it? And I said, well, if you're going to teach these reps anything, because I was also teaching the reps at the time, I said, listen, you need to be an individual brand that they love, they know, they like, they trust, and they can rely on, right?
Yes.
And you are clear, concise, and you're consistent. We call the 3 C's of branding. So when I left the company, they were like, wow, this is like kind of transforming the way we teach our reps. And so since then, of course, I've met so many. They're like, oh, we still use your training. That's like, turn your reps into a brand, help them become, learn the 3 C's. And so now what I did when I left corporate, I took that mindset into my online business space. And when I started teaching people how to build brands online, I said, okay, so if it's you, if you're the one you're going to rely on, if they're the ones you're the one they're going to buy from, then you need to actually be a reliable brand that has not only an image, you've got a message, and you've got something that can support and serve others. And when you do that, now you become known. Like you said earlier on my bio, I'm kind of been known as the branding queen, right, for the last 20 years, because I turn every person into a brand, because your story not only is your brand, you're the brand, you represent the brand, and more importantly, what you do, how you do it, they don't even care what you do until they care why you do it.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
Right? So if someone doesn't know why, like everyone knows why I do what I do, is because I never want to put my baby girl in daycare who is 18 now, but I still want to be with her every day. And that's my story as to why I became so empowered through helping women. And so when they know why you do it, now you become that service or that provider or that person that they are connected to. And that's the know, like, and trust. And so when you're a personal brand in front of a company, now there's someone that they can rely on. There's a heartbeat. This is also why Branson, Gary Vee, they're all out in front of their brand. They're huge companies. Most Branson and Gary Vee, they don't really talk about their companies, but they are their companies. Because it's their personality, it's their characteristics. People know that they can rely on them. Their USP is what people are looking for, right? That unique selling proposition or that uniqueness. I call it your sexy brand, uniqueness. It's like, what is it about you that can be different than everyone else, that you can not only support them, but they really want to work with you? And this is why you're doing these type of shows, right, Giovanna?
Yes, absolutely.
And you're consistent. So that's really what I do, is I help support, not only bring the personal brand out to the front, tell that message that's clear, concise, and congruent with what you do.
Yes.
And then, of course, we then, take it to the next level by expanding the brand with PR, with media, so that now you go from best kept secret to world renowned brand, and that you're searchable when someone's looking for you online.
I love what you said, the why. The why behind why we're doing it is what connects us to the world. It's not the money, because a lot of people say, oh no, I'm going to do this because everybody's doing it. This is where the money is. And that's why I believe is a disconnect, understanding the why and how you can impact others. Number one is really bringing out the authentic in you, the real in you. So being vulnerable, being real with your message is crucial for your success, because people can read a fake. You can smell a fake rat from miles away, right? We know it. So I love what you said. And I do believe, though, it's a mind shift that definitely has to take place within the person to understand what you need to be successful is not out there. It's in here, and you have to bring it out. So how do you do that for people who need to really learn that? Like, they have it in them. You have to help them get it out of them, right? Because everybody has a story. Everybody has a why. If you dig deep enough, you'll get to the why, the real reason why. So how do you get that person, to shift that mind to realize that? Because that's the goal that they have inside of them.
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't.
Okay.
I don't shift their mind. I give them a mirror so they can see what is it that they are, what is their mission? And when you can ask yourself, why do I care? I'm going to ask you all right now, why do I actually care with what I'm doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Is it to make money, like you said? If it is, then you're going to get money, cold responses. But if it's, I truly care about the women that listen to my story, I want them to understand and feel the resilience it takes to be a woman in business. I want them to understand that it is hard, but they've got support, and that the work that you do, if you care about it, and that is supportive of your why, then your clients and those that you want to support, they deserve to hear it. And so if you truly care about why you're doing what you're doing, then what could be the first few ways that you could start to inspire people? And then you just stop. Because
I love it, because I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, because they might say, oh, maybe I should start doing a video, or maybe I should start doing a live. Maybe I should be on podcasts. Maybe I should speak on stages. Exactly. That's maybe how you should do it. Right. So
I love that. Yeah.
take anything out of someone. It's up to us to hold a mirror and to show them how important it actually is and get out of their own way, because if you care, you'll get out of your own way. Just with mothers, if their babies are getting hurt, and I've seen this before, they turn into superwomen, right? They pick up cars.
Yes.
Why would you do that? Because you wanted to protect your child. Your business, your message, your brand is the same way.
What are your thoughts? You're absolutely right. What are your thoughts about, AI is coming into play big time, right? We're hearing that it's going to replace human work. So, we have to truly get into the space where we have to reinvent ourselves, because there, at some point there's going to be jobs that can be done automatically. And so, more importantly, to say, what can you do to step outside the box? Because, a lot of people are living in a very comfort zone, in a box, and they have to step outside the box. So, and share their voice. So this is the challenge that a lot of women have, is to share their story, their voice, to make the connection with people. Besides doing the videos and what and getting out there in the video, out there in the media, what else do you think needs to be done at the inner work, is what I'm talking about, like to build that confidence, to build that that desire, right? Because if they have the thought that this is something they should do, then I believe that's calling them to do it, but they're afraid to step out.
Okay, so you asked about AI first, and I'll try to share my opinion on this, and I think I understand where your question is. So first off, one thing to remember is, do you remember back in the day when we had farmers, and farmers picked all the crops by hand? And then what happened when machinery came in? We just kind of migrated into a different form of a farmer. We just didn't do the machine picking. We did something different. Same thing when the cars came along, right? We were on buggies, and then cars came along. Made it a lot easier, And so as the world has shifted, as economies change, as we evolve, right? All those roles will evolve. Now, those that get stuck in, oh my gosh, fear that AI is here, or that I am going to need to do something different, you're completely losing the focus on actually what evolution really is. And yes, there are things like, I'm not a huge fan of AI being used in ways that take away our voices, right? So if we're using types of AI that actually replicate a human, to pretend to replicate a human, I'm not a fan of that, because I feel that human interaction, communication, energy, and vibration is still needed. In fact, it is required in order for us to evolve as humans and connect. So AI and computers will never take away the human connection. Knowing that, be aware of how you utilize these type of technologies. Like, I love AI. It helps us write things a lot quicker. It helps us research things a lot faster. It allows me to provide, PR and media plans so much faster than it used to, but it didn't take away my employees. It just helped my employees become better employees to support our clients. And so what I say to those that, ask this type of questions is, if you are afraid that AI is going to take your role, then you are no longer evolving. If you are worried that you are going to become extinct because a computer can take your role, then you need to start looking at what you can do to inspire, to support humans. Okay, so if we're either having a technology conversation or we're having a human conversation. Humans live on this planet. Humans are not going away. Right? Humans love humans.
Humans have feelings. Humans have a heartbeat. Right.
So depending on what you do for work, I mean, if you're a computer, controller or computer, developer, yeah, maybe you just have to become a better computer developer that works with AI, right? But we're talking about building a personal brand and sharing your love and your story and your why. And you do that as a human, just like humans do it. Now, does it mean you now might need to get a little bit, maybe slightly more creative? I've never been on TikTok. It's not my jam. A lot of people are. I don't want to do it. But maybe you do it, right? Maybe you do it differently. There's different social media platforms. Like I'm not a big fan of these faceless accounts, right, that they have in social media. Some people are, but there's 8 billion people in the world. Right. Not all 8 billion like faceless accounts. Not all 8 billion like AI. Not all 8 billion like. So you are the brand. That means you are the one that attracts. But in order to attract and have a following, you've got to be consistent. You've got to be reliable. You've got to be congruent with your message consistently. So then now Rhonda Swan is Rhonda Swan. Everyone knows what you're going to get, right? And sometimes you may not know what you're going to get, but they know that I'm going to be a Rhonda Swan, and that's what they want. They don't want a watered down Rhonda Swan with an AI voiceover that doesn't even Rhonda's voice. They want to work with Rhonda Swan. They want to come to New York City with me. They want to stand in front of the New York Stock Exchange. They want me to interview them, just like they want you to interview them. Someone agrees to come here because you're here. There's not an AI voice here, right?
It's that human connection that's always, essential in feeling how the other person feels. That AI can't give you that.
Yeah, AI is not a human.
I love that. So, last question: in the next evolution of women leadership, what's your viewpoint on that? Because I know we're rising in such a different way this time. It's not about competing for CEOs. Like we all have that title. It's at a totally different level. So, what's your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, I think that that women of the world our voices deserve to be heard. However, they deserve to be heard because you have taken the time to know what your voice is. There's a difference in just using it and sharing it and constantly blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
There's a difference in having a position, having a knowledge base, being able to articulate what you believe in, understanding what you believe in, and taking stands. Right now, I'm not talking about political, but politics are one. There's certain stands that we've got. I believe that women today that will help shift the perception and shift the way we do things are those that are bold enough to say, I believe in this. I'm going for this. I understand what you believe in. I may not agree with it, but this is my position. And that's how you then gain credibility, but you also gain a following because you're taking a stand that most do not. So women that are not vanilla, right? That just don't, do the even keel. Those are the ones I believe that's the next level of leadership. That's where we're going. Those that are willing to share not only their story vulnerably, but to lead vulnerably, but to also, be kind with their words and strong with their stand. I believe that's the next evolution of leadership in women.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. And your final words that you can share with the audience to connect with you, and your last golden nugget.
Yeah, certainly. You can find me. I play quite often on Instagram, also certainly on LinkedIn. Every month I go to New York City and I share, stories in front of the New York Stock Exchange and help expand your brand. And that's one thing that I would say, if you are going to do anything, start now. Not only expanding your brand, but building it and understanding what your 3 C's are: clear, concise, and congruent messages across the board in order to be identified as the one that can solve someone's problems.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Rhonda, for joining us today. Wish you all the best, and keep doing what you're doing because you're shining. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. Be unstoppable and stay wild.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Until next time, I'm your host, Giovanna Taravone, and this is Sparking Change with Gigi, Why Women Rise. Bye-bye.